First of all, I want to thank everyone for being present for today's meeting and also for people that will be joining during the call session. I want to say a big thank you. And I mean, to my co-speaker also, my brother, he has a JC. So, yeah. Yeah, so tourism basically, first of all, I really want to say um, tourism in Nigeria is like a paradox. What do I mean by that? Is because we have a lot of tourists or tourism or tourist attractions, yet it is an African thing that tourism is not so much of a contributor, right? So I was going through my statistics book as always, and I saw that I mean the tourism sector in the world is $1 trillion industry, right? You have just very few sectors that have entered the bracket of $1 trillion industry, and Africa accounts for only 4%, just 4% of that market share, which is it is really it is alarming. Why do I say that? Because Africa is a country known for its vast nature in beauties, in attractions, and so many other things like agriculture and the rest. Yet the same continent that claims or has proven over time to have so much beauties is not, attracting people to come see, right? And it fall back to our mentality of stagnation in a lot of things we do, lack of exposure. That's what I actually call it, right? Lack of exposure. The tourism sector is always one that you can't overemphasize its importance in an economy. Why do I say this? Because it is also known as the experience sector. What does experience sector mean? You know, there is just something about experience that you can't really calculate it. For instance, if I take you to somewhere you've never been to before, right? I can't calculate the degree of likeness you have for the place. I don't know if you understand. I would just know, okay, this person likes it, but you can't really put a figure on it. It's the same thing as tourism. A person can visit a destination 10 times and still want to keep going. That's the power tourism has. So it's almost like an addictive commodity. I don't know if we're getting it. That means it has the power to leverage continuous influx of income. Continuous. So I'll just I mean, I don't know if I should define what tourism is, but I think everyone has a vivid or valid example, sorry, explanation of what tourism is. Right? Basically, it's just going outside um your, let me use the term, comfort zone to go experience new things that can be in form of beauties and wonders and destinations and things like that, right? So yes, since Africa contributes 4% of the global monetary influx of in tourism,
Oh,
so we're contributing just 4% of about $3 trillion or thereabouts.
wow.
Who can guess how much Nigeria's tourism contributes to the GDP? Yes, we are all right. It's definitely low, a whooping 2%. 2%. I saw that figure and I was embarrassed. 2% is just 1% above 1%. That's just to state how bad it is. So I mean, the last time we spoke about our economy, right? We said our economy was what GDP rather. The GDP as of last year was about $496 billion, right? So just calculate 2% of that. So you're having something next to maybe 9 point something billion dollars or something to that extent. That's how bad it is, right? So I think I've done justice to the explanation of what tourism is, and I would leave yes Jesse to continue from there.
Thank you so much, Faraday, for that contribution.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Faraday. So I'm just going to continue off from where Faraday stopped. Yeah, Faraday already elaborated the um, current state of our tourism, our tourist centers in Nigeria, as the case may be. Um, One thing that we are yet to understand as a country and as a nation generally is the importance of tourism, the level to which tourism can be instrumental in boosting our economy. I mean, Africa, like Faraday said, the contribution of Africa to like global tourism is very, very low. I think he mentioned 4% or so. You can see that we have vast land, we have vast resources, we have vast attraction sites, we are rich in culture. I think Africa has the richest culture compared to the Western world, compared to the Eastern world, compared to every other continent. We are very rich in resources, we are very rich in people, we are very rich in culture. And these are things that should be leveraged on to attract tourists and to provide tourist attraction centers. But as the case may be, we are not leveraging on these things. We are not focusing on these things. Let's say for Nigeria now, we are focusing more on oil, we're focusing more on agriculture, but we are not giving thoughts to the fact that, oh, these tourist centers or this tourism of a thing can be very instrumental in boosting our economy. Let's just look at some countries. Let's say an African country like Seychelles now. Seychelles is an African country and is very popular for what? For tourism.
Tourism.
Tourism in Seychelles, I think that has 2020 contributed about 22% to their GDP. For you to know how instrumental tourism was for them in that particular year. What do they have there? Just nice places, nice hotels, nice resorts, nice resorts rather, um, proper hospitality. All these things are very, very instrumental, and I mean they have a very good level of security too. Because if their security was bad, nobody wants to go there, nobody wants to die because they are looking for fun. Do you understand? So, tourism is a very overlooked concept, especially in Nigeria. And as the case may be, we do not have a lot of resourceful options per se in Nigeria that, oh, we can leverage on this, leverage on that. We are not very advanced in technology. We are not very advanced in a lot of things that the Western world has an edge over us. But this culture, these are cultural background, these are natural resources. I mean, we have our tourist attraction centers, we have them Obudu Mountain Resorts, Idanre Hills, all of that, Lekki Conservation Center. All these places are not just regular places that, oh, that should just be for the natives of Nigeria. These are places that should attract foreign individuals to come and see that, oh, what is going on here? Because that's like the whole aim of tourism. That's the whole concept of tourism. People coming to see what is happening, coming to have an experience, coming to have a feel, coming to have a taste of something new that they have not experienced before. And I feel Nigeria as a country, we have the potential, we have the capacity to leverage a lot on tourism, but as the case may be, we are not actually. So yeah, that's my take.
Thank you so much for that, ERC Jesse, for that wonderful contribution. So now, leading on from what you said, because you talked about some other African countries like Seychelles that contributes about 20% to the country's GDP. So can you like put us through on some cross-country analysis and like try to let us know why or what is the reason behind Nigeria's own poor percentage when it comes to the issue of tourism in the country?
All right, thank you very much. This question is for me, right?
Yes, you then,
All right, yeah.
Friday. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Perfect. Okay, so as the case may be for Nigeria, right? What is limiting our tourism, first of all, compared to other countries? What do they have over us? What is their edge over us? What is their edge over sorry? What is their edge over us? Their edge is not anything special. They don't have any resource that we don't have. They don't have maybe one thing that we cannot produce or we cannot have. It's just the basic things. Security. Seychelles is a very secure country. They have a relatively low crime rate compared to Nigeria. I mean, for Nigeria, we have high levels of terrorism, we have high levels of crime, we have high levels of almost every criminal thing. So, this security issue is a very big factor that limits our tourism and limits the attraction of tourists to Nigeria. Nobody will want to come to a nation that they have high levels of what is it called, terrorism. Nobody wants to die. So this whole insecurity thing is very, very, very important. We also have development, poor development and management of these centers. We have a lot of what is it called, tourist attraction centers. Like I listed before, we have Obudu Mountain Resorts, Zuma Rock, Idari Hills, all of that. All these places are not just places that should be let's say mountains or just natural edifices. We can modify these places. We should modify these places to meet global standards. You have places like the Seychelles now. Anywhere that is a tourist attraction, you can see that they have built how will I put it now? They have built hotels, they have built new innovations around it, surrounding that place that makes it more attractive, that boosts the aesthetic, that makes it somewhere that people will look at. Because tourism is something that should attract people. You can't just force people to come to a nation for tourism. It's not like it doesn't work like that. It's not something that you can just switch on like that. You have to make it appealing to the eyes. You have to make the entire concept of tourism coming to Nigeria tasty and attractive to foreign individuals. So we have to develop our tourist attraction centers. We have to manage them. Adequate management. This is a very big problem we're having in Nigeria at the moment. If not just tourism, in almost every aspect, our public parastatals, our almost every government establishment, anything handled by the government is poorly managed. So we have this management and how will I put it? Sustainability, poor sustainability culture. We have to imbibe the value of managing our tourist attraction centers well, developing, innovating, adding new things to meet global standards. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say.
Yes, yes.
So that's a very key factor that other nations are putting into consideration. Because if you go to all these other nations, you see very nice things. But in the case of Nigeria, if you come, just go to mountain, you climb, you do this. It's not really attractive per se. There are a lot of modifications that can be made in respect to that. So and the government should actually invest in tourism. Like it's very instrumental. For countries like Seychelles now, you can see that there is a very large allocation to tourism for them in their budgeting, in their planning. There are proper allocations to the tourism sector. This should actually be part of the considerations we make when budgeting in Nigeria. And I mean, infrastructure too also plays a very instrumental role in tourism. I mean, you have to have adequate transportation networks, air transport, land transport, and the likes. Everything has to be in place to foster this increase in tourism. So I feel like these are the few edges that other countries, other African countries, or other Western countries have over us that we are not shedding light on and should actually be considered.
Thank you so much, Jesse, for that insightful answer. Faraday, please, can we get your opinion on this?
Sure, please, could you say the question again?
Okay,
So,
so we're looking at cross-country analysis because Jesse already gave us when he was answering the last question, he already gave us an intro towards
yeah.
the contribution of tourism to some African countries. He mentioned the likes of Seychelles
Yes.
contributing 20%.
Yeah.
So we're just trying to understand, okay, what are the reasons, will I say, that's preventing Nigeria from hitting these numbers?
Okay. Okay. So I just thank you, Jesse, for your contribution earlier. Right. So I would first compare this um tourism contributing to GDP, right, to African countries before comparing it globally, right? Because at the end of the day, when you look at the statistics, highest contribution of tourism to GDP, the first three, no, the first two out of three actually are African countries. So, like Jesse mentioned earlier, the first one is Seychelles, which the no Maldives actually, Maldives, which is not African, but British Virgin Island, and Seychelles are one of the top contributors. I think I mixed up my facts there, but let me just speak on it basically. All right, so the first one is Maldives, which tourism contributes about 38.92%. Let's just say 40% to their GDP. All right, and I was digging into Maldives, what actually are the attractions there, and I saw that the only attraction there that they have is just their water view, which is the beaches, the seas and oceans and things like that, basically, right? Because that's the natural color of green.
Sure.
So I mean, it is an attraction,
Beautiful.
and it contributes about 38.92%. And you have a country like Nigeria that has multiple attractions, right? From the Canary Games to several others. Now, let me streamline it down to Africa. In Africa, you have three countries that contribute to that. I think Seychelles, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it well, has the highest this in contribution with over 24% to their GDP. Right, that's Seychelles. But now, looking at the number of people that came to the top three countries that have contributions. I don't know if you understand me. Are you following?
Yes, we are following.
Okay, so there are two distinctions to this thing. There are two distinctions to this thing. First one is the amount GDP contributes, tourism contributes to GDP. That's the first one. And the second is the number of people that actually come into that country. So now look at the economies of countries that have that tourism contributes most to their GDP. Countries like Seychelles. Seychelles doesn't even have a population of 3 million people. Lagos alone has population of over 22 million people. Do we understand?
Yes.
Now, moving to the next country, I can't remember the name, about 11.39% or thereabouts. They also do not have a population of about 3 million people. Yet, in Nigeria, in 2016 alone, about 1.3 million foreigners came to Nigeria for tourism, while the top three countries that tourism contributes to their GDP, when you add the number of people that actually came to this country for tourism, is about just 2 million. So if you are going to do your math there, right, you're having about just 600,000 people coming into
Oh,
these countries. Yet, so we have to really analyze, right, the statistics to understand the leverage and power that we are missing out on, right? There's something depreciation in currency does. It makes your goods cheaper in economic term, right? That means now, I mean, if I'm to go to Seychelles, I don't even need 500,000 naira to do so. That's how cheap it is. Yes, it's one of the most beautiful countries in the world, right? Because their currency does not have so much value. So now look at compare Nigeria's currency to that of the US, to that of European countries and stuff. You know, to them it is very cheap to come visit Nigeria. Yet we are still having stagnation in our tourism sector. That's another big question mark. And I mean, to me, just as I said the answer also earlier, the questions that are asked, so why we having low influx of foreigners in our country and things like that. The number one thing is your insecurity level. And we've had cases where people come over from Italy, from Spain, and whatsoever, or to come to Nigeria to do business, and before they leave, they're kidnapped. Right. So that's the biggest contributor to stagnation in the tourism sector. So you can the biggest contributor to me is probably not the problem of the tourism sector, but the problem of the country. And that's where the part government has to really, be on its game comes into, because insecurity affects literally everything. It affects every sector in the economy, and the biggest is tourism. Because if insecurity